What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I have a very important video to show you guys. It's a video clip of Ben Shapiro talking about Social Security and the reason why people don't need Social Security and they don't need retirement. Why retire? You could just work until you die, is basically what he's saying. I'm going to show you guys a clip, and then we're going to talk about it. But we need to pay attention to political commentators like Ben Shapiro because he has a broad audience. He has a large audience. On YouTube alone, he has over 6 million subscribers. You have a lot of people that are listening to Ben Shapiro. And so it's very important that we pay attention to this. So let's go ahead and take a look. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification, clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Threads, you can at the TEC Show Live. Okay, so I'm going to play the clip. Now, he's talking about President Biden's budget. So President Biden released his budget a couple of days ago. And so he's talking about the portion where President Biden was talking about funding for Social Security. So we'll play this and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
So according to Politico, after committing during his State of the Union address to stop anyone in Congress who tries to raise the retirement age for Social Security benefits, Biden's budget instead calls for raising taxes on high earners to keep Social Security and Medicare from hitting insolvency within the next decade. Now, again, realistically speaking, that's not going to save anybody. The population is aging way too fast for that. There are not enough high-income taxpayers even to pay for the kinds of bills that Joe Biden wants to pay for here. And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years. That's crazy talk. That is not fiscally sustainable. The notion that if you have to raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, that everyone is going to fall apart. My parents are that age. My parents are not retired. And they shouldn't retire. It would be very bad for them to retire. By the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65 were in 1940. It's not true at all. Have you met a 65-year-old lately? 65-year-olds are not old in the United States. They're not. 68-year-olds are not old in the United States. Again, Joe Biden thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81. I failed to see how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80 plus is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
Okay, so that was Ben Shapiro talking about Social Security and why do people need to retire anyway? You can continue working. And so I'm going to get to the comments because people were writing in his comments. I'll get to that at the very end of this video. And it's pretty interesting because you had a lot of people pushing back, which I think is the right thing to do. First off, Ben Shapiro, he's 40 years old. He doesn't know what it's like to be 50 years old or 60 years old. He doesn't know how your body tears down as you get older. But nonetheless, I want to go over, I have a little list here of some of the things that he talked about, and I want to address them. So the first thing, he doesn't know when the retirement age is. He doesn't know when you can start collecting your full retirement because he's talking about 65. 65, you can't collect your full retirement at 65 because in 1983, guess what? They moved the retirement age up. So it's no longer 65. It's 66 or 67. For most of us, it's going to be 67. And so you have these political commentators coming on, trying to speak like they're an expert and not even knowing the facts. The facts are right now that you can't retire at 65. So by him saying that, he's misleading you. And we saw Nikki Haley doing the exact same thing, saying 65. 65 is too young to retire. Okay, they've moved it up. Why haven't you guys read the memo? It's sad to know that these political experts or so-called political experts don't even know the facts. Now, the next thing that he talked about, he was talking about the 45 years. You can work 45 years. It's insane that you could work 45 years, contribute, pay into the payroll contribution for 45 years, and all you're asking is to receive Social Security for you and your family for 20 years. You've paid into the system for 45 years, and he thinks that's crazy. He thinks that's crazy that you would even have the gall to say, yeah, I think I should receive Social Security until I die. It's crazy how some people who are just completely out of touch. And by the way, looking at his job, sitting in front of a camera and talking, kind of like what I'm doing right now, he's speaking like everybody has jobs like that. We all have office jobs. Not everyone has an office job. If you don't know, I retired. I was in law enforcement. You can't be in law enforcement if you're 67 or 70 years old. You just can't do it. There are a lot of jobs out there that require a lot of physical activity, and you're not going to be able to work until you're that old. It's just not going to happen. Construction, trucking, you're working on boats, fishermen, auto mechanics. All these jobs are very demanding on your body. You're not going to be able to do that when you're 67. And so it's so out of touch to listen to rich people talk about, oh yeah, you could just work the rest of your life. Because a lot of these people, their work environment is much different than some of those people who are out really doing hard work, hard labor. And we need those people that are doing the hard labor. So another thing he's talking about, it's not insane to say that we could raise the retirement age to 67 or 68. And like I said already, the retirement age is already 67. If you're born 1960 or later, you can't retire until you're 67. And so, it's just really, really sad. And then he talked about politicians, which I agree. When it comes to politicians, we need term limits for people in Congress. I completely agree with that. Presidents already have term limits, but we do see a lot of politicians that are over that age. They're in their 70s, they're in their 80s. But we have to look at the reason why they're in their 70s and 80s. Being a congressperson, and I'm just talking about from the outside looking in, doesn't look like it's very demanding on your body. You have a lot of these politicians, they're working, and I go over the calendar every month and show you guys how many days they're actually working and how many days they spend on recess back home. And generally, it's like 8 or 9 days where they're actually working in D.C., and the rest of the time they're in their home district. And these are office jobs. You don't see these Congress people out there, doing heavy lifting. That's not what they're doing. They're sitting behind a desk and voting on legislation. If they're doing that, in a lot of situations, they're not even doing that. They're on Twitter or whatever they're doing. And so it's just out of touch to hear Ben Shapiro talking like this as far as retirement. Oh, people don't need to retire. What do you need to retire for? Only if you're not capable of working. If you're injured and you can't work anymore, those are the only people that should be retiring. But if you're able to work, you should be working until you die. And he's making it sound like, 67, that's not old. 68, that's not old. You're not 67 or 68, so how can you speak on that? You're 40. And you're talking about someone who is 20 years, 27 years older than you. Ben Shapiro hasn't even gotten to the point where he's at the midpoint of his work career. He's only been working, let's just say, for 20 years. Started working when he was 20, he's now 40. He's got another 27 years before he can even think about receiving Social Security benefits or be at the age of full retirement. But he's speaking like he knows. He's speaking like, well, my parents, they're 67 and they're 68 and they're still working. Okay, that's your parents. First off, what do your parents do? And then not everyone is the same. And most people also want to have a life after they retire. They don't want to be so old where they can't get out and do things, go travel and do all these things that they've wanted to do their whole life. Not everyone is tied to their job. Some people put family and hobbies before work. They want to live a happy life. They don't want to have to just work. Most people are working so they can get a paycheck so they can pay for those things that they enjoy doing. And wouldn't it be nice to get to a point where you can retire and go and do all the things that you want to do your whole life? Okay, so I want to go and take a look at his comments because people were sounding off in his comments, and rightfully so. They should be, because this is probably the worst thing that I've ever heard someone say about retirement. The fact that you don't need to retire. And let's get this straight here. The reason why he's talking like this is because he doesn't see a need in Social Security. He doesn't see that money people don't need Social Security. They should just continue working. There's no reason for Social Security. That's what he's getting to when he's talking about this issue. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what people are saying. This person here, Just Normal Gamers, says, I disagree. People who work manual labor jobs are not going to be able to be productive into their 70s and especially their 80s. And if they've spent their whole life performing those jobs, there is no way they are going to be able to transition to some sort of office job or even a driving job. I don't want 80-year-olds driving a semi-truck everywhere. And then Matthew says, yeah, Ben has a CEO mindset on this topic. For Ben, his legacy is the Daily Wire. Daily Wire is the company that they run. It's a production company. Regular people's legacy isn't their job. It's their family. And this is important. It isn't their job. It's their family. Not everybody wants to just work until they die. People have other interests. And most people are not tied to their job like that. Their job is not their life. Their life is their family. And they want to get to that point where they can get back to their family. And then he goes on to say, having 70-year-old cops, truck drivers, and any manual labor is a horrible idea. And I agree with this. You're going to have people in their 70s working jobs like that? That's not going to work. And then Brian says, I totally agree. As a construction worker for 50 years, the retirement should be max 60. But if you sit at a desk all day, then sure, work till 90. My point is, jobs are different, and it's easy to say, raise the age. Ben wouldn't last a day on my site. He would quit by noon. He'd quit by noon. That's pretty funny. Yet we need construction workers. And I completely agree. We need the people doing these jobs. And we need people that have been doing these jobs for a long time, especially when it comes to construction and things like that. We want experienced people doing those jobs. But when you get to the age of 67 and you're doing construction, that's going to be hard, very, very hard for you to do. Okay. And then Deadman says, yeah, my dad worked in a leather mill his entire life. After work, he worked a dairy farm he owned. He worked 4 years past retirement and was still working the farm. His shoulders and knees were shot. He still worked. 2 years after retirement, he died. So, and this is a sad situation. So this guy worked 4 years past his retirement. So let's say, and I don't know when his father retired, but let's just say his father retired at 67 or 66. And so he worked 4 years past that. So worked until he was 70. And then he passed away shortly after that. But what kind of life is that? You worked your whole life. What about the spending time with your family? What about doing the vacations and doing some of these other things that you might want to do? Now, not everyone's the same. And some people might want to do that. They might want to just work until they die. But I would say the average person, I would say most people don't want to do that. They want to be able to retire and enjoy life, enjoy the last phase of their life. And so I just thought it was really, really out of touch to hear Ben Shapiro say that. And then another thing, too, when it comes to retirement, just to go even a step further, you can retire at 62, so you can retire early. You don't have to wait until you're 67, which is good. The only thing is you're going to receive about 30% less if you retire at 62, if you do the early retirement. But the bottom line here is Ben Shapiro, first off, doesn't have his facts together. He doesn't know that you can retire, or if you want to do your full retirement, it's going to be at 67. He doesn't have those facts. He doesn't know that, which I don't know why he doesn't know that. Don't speak on things that you don't know about. Do a quick Google search and it'll tell you when your full retirement age is. And then the last thing, he's just thinking that everybody has the same type job. Everybody's sitting behind a desk. How hard is this? Not a hard job. Yeah, for him, it's not a hard job. And for him, I would agree. If he wants to work until he's into his 80s, sitting behind a desk, looking at a camera, he could probably do that. But not everybody has that same luxury. Not everybody is working in an office every day. You have a lot of people that are out there, electricians that are doing really dangerous jobs, law enforcement, fire. You have all these jobs that are very demanding on your body, and these people are not going to be able to work until they're 67 or 70 or 80. It's just not possible. And so I want to know what you guys think about this, so let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.